Welcome to the podcast, Wellness 3.0 Unlocked. What if one of the biggest unlocks in your health wasn't another supplement, protocol, or trend, but something as foundational as how your body moves every single day? Today's guest, Wayne Purcell, founder of AIRfeet, is focused on exactly that, helping people optimize movement, reduce pain, and improve quality of life starting from the ground up. But this conversation goes far beyond foot health. We talk about what it really takes to build a business in the wellness space, the lessons he has learned along the way, especially the what not to do's, and how small intentional innovations can create massive impact. Plus, we explore how tools like AI can support entrepreneurs behind the scenes, freeing up time to focus on what actually matters. Wayne, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Well, really looking forward to this conversation today as someone, especially who's been struggling with a few foot issues, but we will get into that in a minute. First of all, you've had quite an interesting and very diverse professional journey. So let's start with the foundation. Tell everyone exactly what AIRfeet is and tell us the journey that brought you to where you are now.
Yeah, so I've been blessed with a pretty enjoyable life of traveling and dabbling in different areas and industries, all rooted from where I began. I was born and raised in Australia and spent 22 years there and was offered an opportunity to come to the United States. And that brought me over to, of all places, Indiana. People still ask me today, why did you move to Indiana? It is nowhere near the ocean. And I grew up on the biggest island continent in the world. There was water everywhere for us. And so offered a great opportunity to come over and actually, of all things, and the reason why it's Indianapolis is because of IndyCar racing. So I got to, at 22 years old, had an opportunity to work with some of the world's best drivers, engineers, and teams. And it was literally probably one of the most incredible experiences I had. And I had never experienced that before. So that particular company I was working for at the time grew and expanded. We moved into aviation and aerospace and defense. So did my engineering experience, responsibilities, and overall business knowledge. So after about 25 years there, that chapter came to a grinding halt. Very difficult ending, but one that was very educational. It was really one of those moments where I made a promise to myself that I would never let my future be controlled by someone else again that had so much control over my life. And so that led me to, of all things, before AIRfeet, to start an aerospace company called Blue, literally like the color. A lot of people go out there and they have their initials or their name. I just wanted the name of a company that no one could forget. So I just called it a color. It was Blue Incorporated. And what I did was strategic business and supply chain development. So I knew all the companies already that I had grown and worked with, and just decided that I would support them on the business development side and on the supply chain side, because all companies have issues with supply chains. So around that same time, my brother is also living over here in Indianapolis. So I'm blessed to have one of my family members here. And by the way, co-founder of AIRfeet. So we were both going through some pretty major personal life changes, and we met, had a conversation, said, look, I'll work on it, you work in it. And because of my engineering background, manufacturing, I could probably just about make anything, may not be the best, but sort of led to that capability. I said, how about we start AIRfeet? And so that became a tremendous roller coaster and a fun ride. And I love roller coasters, whether it's uphill, downhill. It was just fantastic. So like any small company, you do anything and everything to turn a dollar. You have to eat, put food on the table. So we did things like fairs and festivals, marathons, and then we grew into expos. So meeting people and learning what worked and what didn't. Boy, we did some things we should never have done and some that were great and tried to replicate. So growing through both success and mistakes over time, AIRfeet evolved into something which really became much bigger than we ever expected, which is where we are today. We sort of became a real company. And so that's how we got to where we are. I'm happy to go into a little bit more about AIRfeet, which is really, like you described, we're not a supplement. We're not a custom fit orthotic that you can go to a podiatrist or get measured and checked. AIRfeet is a technology that, if I put it into two buckets, you have everything that you would go to a store, pull off the shelf, whether it be a Dr. Scholl's, great affordable product, or to something that's really high end and you're getting custom fit. Well, they fit into a bucket called static in design. So they're stationary, they fit stationary, they sit stationary under your feet. So we created a technology that we put into a bucket called dynamic. And so we dynamically activate the foot muscles under your feet. And I've got a couple of little samples right here. So one of the differences is they are that thin, which is, you would look at that and think there is no way that's going to do anything. So what we did was we engineered, had multiple patents on it, and captured air that literally moves inside the insole. So one of the pluses to our product being as thin as what it is, you don't have to remove anything out of your shoe. We are not a replacement as everything else is. We are an enhancement, a complement. So if you wear an orthotic, ours goes right on top. You buy a pair of shoes from the store, don't take anything out, ours just slips right on top, et cetera, et cetera. So a huge value to that is we are able to change your entire footwear wardrobe, your entire experience when you're wearing footwear with one pair of insoles, because they can be moved in and out of a shoe. Of course, you're going to come back and you're going to buy more because you'll get sick of doing that. But essentially, that's the value behind AIRfeet. That's our technology. It truly separates from everything else. You know, one of the taglines that we embraced, it's actually on our packaging, our retail packaging, is, you know, years ago when we were first doing expos, we would have people come to our booth and they would say, oh, well, this is really weird. And we didn't know what to do with that. We thought we had to defend it. And then I think one of the things as we get into this conversation, as a small company, you really have to embrace how to communicate with your customer or potential customer. And this was one of those learning experiences for us. So we didn't know how to respond to that. It's really weird. And we thought we had to defend it. And then we sat down and thought, why are we defending it? The customer's telling us that it's so different and we want to be different. So we embraced it. We trademarked the best weird you'll ever feel. And so we turned that negative into a massive positive. So when we hear that today, our words back to them are, thank you. You just separated us from everything on the market. So that's where we are and who we are, and that's our product.
You mentioned earlier that your previous career came to a grinding halt, and that was the moment when you said, I don't ever want to be in that situation again. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, that's how they start their journey too. They have this realization that they want to have more control over their trajectory and not be concerned that at any given point the rug could be ripped out from underneath them. So when you made this journey and you switched to the entrepreneurial journey, what though eventually made you decide to work on this issue as far as feet? Was it something you were experiencing personally that you were struggling with, or your brother, or you saw just a niche that needed to be filled?
Question. So I'd always worked in the service side. So even though we manufactured product, we're producing them for someone else. So it was nearly that service side of industry. And we had built product within the same facility. And actually we got into, of all things, it was my background's advanced composites. So we got into very high-end cycling. So literally, if you look at the bicycles that are similar, like Tour de France and things like that, there was a company, I actually built the very first 3-spoke carbon fiber wheel ever. And so we did a lot of development. So we built product. And I thought, well, I've seen something when that separation took place. I'd seen a product that I thought, this is really cool, but it's really wrong. It was like someone was designing a square wheel. Great theory, just didn't work. And so again, at that time, met with Neil and said, you know, with all the changes, and I think one of the things that prevents individuals from stepping out and becoming their own entity, there's a lot of concerns there. Well, one of mine was, and part of that was there was a separation in my marriage. I only had to make one decision, mine. And I must admit it was a lot easier. My children were all grown, so I had time on my hands. I thought, well, if I fail, at least I can go to my grave saying I gave it a chance. Whereas there are so many intelligent individuals out there, and they're just concerned about making that first step. Could be absolutely financially, it could be time, it could just be that they just can't find the energy to do it. So that's probably how it all sort of began and started. I hope I'm not sidetracking your question a little bit there.
No, love it.
But that's really how it began. That's why I was able to do what I did. So I guess the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. Not that I wanted them to fall into place like they did, but that was the happenstance. And I think when we work, perhaps if you're of an entrepreneurial engineering or business type mind, when we work for another individual, not that we're not extremely dedicated to them, when we are, I gave 12 to 14 hours a day, literally 7 days a week. I was dedicated. And I think most individuals who become entrepreneurs, we are committed, very strong work ethic, and no matter what it takes, we're there to get it done. And after a while, I feel that there can just be separate paths in the relationships that you have with the companies that you work in. And I was fortunate enough that it ended. Disappointed at the time, but what a massive blessing it was, because I wouldn't be where I am today.
I think that's one of the greatest things as we get a little older, is that when we have these speed bumps, big, really big sometimes, or small, we have the ability with our wisdom to look back and say, okay, that was really hard then, but it brought me to where I am now. But the first time something like that happens, you don't have that frame of reference, and it can be terrifying and demoralizing. But oftentimes those roadblocks and diversions bring us to a place that we could never imagine, and we're so incredibly grateful for. So let's talk a little bit about AIRfeet, the actual inserts themselves, because I was able to get my hands on a couple of pairs, and one for myself, one for my fiance. We wanted to kind of try out the different styles. I have to say, okay, so just for point of reference, I do wear an orthotic. One of my legs is a little shorter, and so if I don't wear them, then I start to feel it, in all the ways. And this just fit right over top of it. And I was concerned about that because already sometimes with that orthotic, my shoes can start to feel tight, already with that in there. But this didn't add any noticeable tightness or difference. And it's such an interesting feeling. It's like, first I was trying to describe it in my head to myself, and I was going back and forth between, it's like walking on a pogo stick or a trampoline. Like, you just get this literal spring in your step, as I guess that's the air moving through it, correct? Is that what's happening? Yeah. And it just gives you this great little pep in your step. And I've used them now for a few weeks. I've gone on 5, 6, 7 mile walks with them. I can say that my feet are definitely less sore after these longer walks. Right. So I'm so grateful that, because I love to walk, love to walk. And it was making me a little discouraged that I was starting to feel, not great after a walk. So super encouraged by that. So that's my own personal experience with them. And let's talk a little bit more about the business aspect. You said that your brother's a co-founder. So did you guys just sit down and say, okay, I'm good at this, you're good at that, this is how we're going to divvy up the duties? Or was it more organic than that?
I think in the beginning, naturally, you carry the grocery bags that you can handle. And a lot of it, I think, just fell into place. The first step with any small company, especially if it's product driven, is how are you going to make it? You got to design it, you got to make it, then you got to buy it. Actually, one of the things that I share every now and then was, and I don't mean to digress for a second here, but was my perhaps at the time, and not really fond, I'm really not a fan of banks. I had a great idea, had a business sense to me. I had money, had a bit of money in the bank, and I could not get a loan. Even though I presented the business model and the business case, they would not give me anything. So I went into $87,000 in credit card debt. Immediately, credit cards were shut down. So by the way, they give you that line of credit, just don't ever use it because they're going to close the account. So I went into debt. I thought, well, I'm very committed. Again, if it fails, I'll get a job somewhere and I'll pay it off in, I don't know how long it would have taken. So that was my commitment to making it work. And I think that was one of the biggest conversations that I had with my brother was, what is our commitment like? So we sat down, actually we were at a restaurant and having a cocktail. And he had you touched on this a little bit earlier, which I probably didn't answer, but he had owned a very high-end, let's call it landscaping, but really a pool building company. So very expensive pools, beautiful retaining walls, etc. A lot of difficult work. And over the period of 20 years, that had really messed up his lower back. Mm-hmm. So there was this sort of need to possibly assist there, as well as I realized he can't keep doing what he's doing. And I said, let's do this together. So our commitment had to be number one. We are willing to do whatever it takes. So he started looking at what shows can we do? Where can we go? Where can we be around people? If there's people, they're walking, they're customers, potential customers. I worked on the business side, getting the company up and running, getting product ordered, going into debt, credit card debt, and then making it function. So everything sort of developed from that. As who was not the busiest probably took on the next little bit of effort that needed to be done. We rented a 10 by 20 storage, and that was our office for 2 years, which was interesting in winter and summer because we had both elements there. So I'm talking about start from the grassroots. People get into offices and things happen. But one of the things that we also committed to when we first started was we don't have endless funds and we needed to do as much as possible ourselves, which leads to long hours, which leads to, again, that commitment to making it work and not fail. So things grew probably harmoniously. There wasn't this assignment. We didn't set up an org chart and these are your responsibilities and a job description. It was, here's an event, here's a product, let's go sell. That was truly the mentality of how our business started. And I think unless you're financially fortunate enough or in an industry that allows you to do something where you do have those things in place, I feel many companies start just like that.
And you guys began back in 2013, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So over the past 13 years, do you still do festivals, things like that?
No, we have grown significantly. As much as we know, and for those even watching, they're a bit of a cash cow, which is great. It's not a business strategy for us. It's not a focus. We have individuals who do them and just part-timers, and they do very well. But as a business strategy, we don't personally do them.
Gotcha. So you guys as a company are still out at those events. It's just not you standing behind the table anymore.
Yeah, we do strategic events now, strictly convention-based.
And what would you say over the past 13 years tested you the most as an entrepreneur? You alluded to some of the struggles, the startup, the time, the finances. What would you say was the most test that you were given as an entrepreneur?
Wow. I think one of the biggest ones is we have an idea, we have a product, and how do we get the message out? Because again, when we started 2013, social media was not big like it is today. The ability to communicate with everyone very quickly didn't really exist, at least with the knowledge that we had. My background was business development, operations, manufacturing, engineering. So it wasn't the marketing side. So that was a challenge. I think most individuals that are entrepreneurs, especially on our side, didn't really understand what avenues to take with marketing. How do we get the word out? That was a big challenge. And I felt very overwhelmed by 100% our effort equals 100% return on investment. So very daunting. The other thing is just, how do you design a tri-file? How do you design literature, and packaging? Where do you do all that? And the amount of money that you can spend as a small company doing what seems to be the most mundane, simple things can send you in a path of frustration, and never-ending dollars just seem to go out the door for, you know what you want, but someone's having to do it for you. So that, I think some of those basic areas, the other areas are, do we work out of our house or homes, or do we find somewhere to rent? Do we need a secretary? All of those areas that we're programmed into thinking, and a lot of small companies go broke because they make poor decisions like that. We were fortunate enough to run into some people. What a brilliant bookkeeper we have. Boy, every small business thinks, oh, I'm going to do that. I can do the bookwork myself. Holy cow. I love all of the bookkeepers out there because what a blessing that they are to us. So even finding people like that in the beginning, they were our struggles. The simple things were our struggles. I can make it. We can sell it. But everything else that made us a company was incredibly challenging.
It's all those other little details. The devil's in the details, they say.
Yes, it is. And some of them aren't necessary in the beginning, but if you want to grow, they will become major priorities. The other one was, as we grew, was creating PowerPoints and presentations. What do you submit to a legitimate business to show that you're legitimate? That's time and effort that goes into that. So they were big hurdles that I feel we have definitely advanced on. I don't say we're perfect, but we've made some improvement.
You mentioned when we were talking earlier that you really like to help others on what not to do. So what are a couple of specific lessons that you would share with someone, particularly in a product-based business in the wellness space, rather, that you would like to pass on?
Wow. So that's a good question. So some of the things about what not to do is believe everybody who thinks that they're the absolute miracle to your company. We are overwhelmed by marketing groups, social media platforms. If you're on Amazon, it could be an Amazon person saying, we can take you from this to this. Don't believe all of those people. We have, even from sales reps, it is so difficult to find really good salespeople. And we've taken some on in the best of faith and spent enough money that I realized I do not want to go down this path again. And unfortunately, what it can do is leave a bad taste in your mouth where you're very hesitant to even take on the next person. Don't think that you have to have everything perfect. Probably because of my engineering background, and in engineering, there are revisions on everything. You start with a wheel, and then that's Rev A, you put some spokes in it. Rev B, you make it a different color. So revisions are very important to how a company operates. Don't be perfect from day one. Stay focused on what your core competency is. It's very easy to get distracted if you do a convention and there's a company next to you and they're doing something a certain way and it looks like they're really successful. Stay focused on what your mission is and what your goals are and your customer. Very easy to sometimes, you can't see the forest for the trees. One step at a time. If you're fortunate enough to be a millionaire overnight, that's great, but there's not a lot of us that get down that path. So do things slowly. Don't put yourself under pressure with deadlines, just like buying a vehicle. You walk onto a lot, the dealer says he's got a deal for you today, walk away and think, I'm going to take a few days to think about that. And if you can put yourself in decisions where you're not emotionally making a decision, but give yourself time and logically make it, chances are you're going to make the right decision. That's where they're the do's and the don'ts. I can't tell anyone what shows they should or shouldn't do or what their business strategy is, that path for them. But I know for us, we did, for example, we just discussed it. We could still do fairs and festivals today, and there are some massive ones, hundreds of thousands of people, and we could turn great money very quickly. But it's not a good strategy for the business. It's eating up our time. Mm-hmm. So they're the decisions where you say, okay, great in the beginning, and that would be a mistake and a don't to do that today for the leadership of the business. So again, simple things, don't be scared to start something new. Our literature here probably all started with me just playing and ugly. To create our logo, I literally sat at the time my girlfriend's house with coloring pencils and a piece of paper, and I drew colors and I sketched and I did as much as I possibly could to go ahead and think of what do I think the logo should look like, and then I let a professional finish it off. So do the little things. Don't be scared to jump in and challenge. If you don't know it, get in and get your feet dirty, or else you won't know the conversation, the questions to ask your designer, everything like that. Don't think you're not smart enough to learn anything.
Well, I think that's great advice. Don't wait until it's perfect. You got to start the motion. in the beginning, you're wearing all the hats, but as things start to grow, you have to be very cognitive of the value of your time
Yep.
and divvying up those duties. That you said a lot about some of the struggles that you've overcome over the past decade plus. Is there anything in your business that's currently a little bit of a speed bump that you're pushing through right now?
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of tossing many things around. We find that as we're growing, we're taking on new customers and trying to keep up with old customers. And one of the things that's doing to us is, I think many small companies deal with this is, again, we do these strategic events, conventions, trade shows all over the country. And we find that we're struggling with keeping up with really good leads. A lot of people say it's a lot of work to go to a trade show. Well, you've got prep, you attend. My goodness, the work doesn't start until afterwards. And that's where the value comes. And so keeping up with who are the best, who are our customers, who potentially are our customers, the lead follow-up, all of that is probably our greatest issue, finding the best salespeople, because now we have actually a product line. Previously, we started with one product. Now we have a line of products, and finding who can, best support us in that area is great. And so, one of the things that we're leaning on is now the use of, technology and individuals who think newer than us. Our memories and minds are, we're working from 12, 13 years ago when we started. Well, technology's advanced and we sort of need to do that as well. So those problems are challenging. How do we attack all of these markets? How do we make sure we don't fragment ourselves, because that can be a problem, is fragmentation. And then how do we really make sure that we're getting the value from the shows that we attend, which are many thousands of dollars? How do we do that? So I would say that's probably one of our greatest challenges, is that.
You talked a little bit about what you're currently going through now, but what's next for AIRfeet? Where do you see yourself in 2 or 3 years? Are there any new products coming up, expansion, partnerships, anything like that?
Yeah, so our technology has allowed us to really start to innovate into numerous different areas, and they are very, very exciting. We have hundreds of testimonials, and I tell you what, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, they're very motivating. If you sit back and think, because we question, do we really have it? Is there a purpose for our business or our product? When you look at testimonials, they are the reinforcement that says you're on the right track. Just keep moving and things can fall into place. So, we really want to focus on our technology helping other people. We feel that that's an area that is only going to expand for us. It's so incredibly exciting. With our lead now into the golfing world, we have a patent pending specific golf product. We have products that are definitely focused towards industry. We have products that are highly focused towards individuals in certain areas. Well, for example, that's absolutely gorgeous and will be targeted towards a number of different communities. So our ability now to expand into different areas is tremendously exciting, but we need to put things in place to support that. And part of that is I'm going to call it infancy steps, because we're not embryonic, it's not a thought, it's in action, into that AI world. And I am so excited about the potential to solve some of our problems with something that so many individuals fear. And as a company, we're really starting to embrace that.
Well, speaking of AI, that is what we do at Soaring Solutions, is provide solutions for companies, businesses, practitioners in the health and wellness space. So I always like to hear, how are you currently using AI at this point?
Again, infancy stages. So our focus is truly hasn't been on the marketing side at all yet, because I think a lot of people are growing in that area. We've used it to refine how we communicate with customers, key customers, strategic customers. It's one thing writing an email, but that email is going to be based on our emotion, our thought, and how do we maybe flavor that a little bit to be more what they connect with. And that's very important. The other part of it is we are in the process, we will design and implement and eventually probably make it available to smaller businesses, an ability to follow up without having to remember to all of our leads multiple times as if it was from us, keep us alert, keep us aware. Hey, you haven't talked to them for a week. You need to contact them now. This conversation was great. Why haven't you followed up again? And we become overloaded. I don't care if you're not a business owner, even if you're just a salesperson out there. How do you keep up with all of your sales leads? Which one's ready? Which one's hot, warm, cool? It is so incredibly difficult. So I look at AI for us as being our marketing manager. We need a boss and we need someone to take over what we just can't remember. We forget. My gosh, it's the opportunities that we leave on the table are horrible as a small business. We are disgusting at following up with fantastic leads and seeing it through to the close of business. Massive focus, and I'm very excited about how AI can help us.
When you mentioned earlier in the conversation about creating your logo and how you sat down at a table with colored pencils and started to sketch out that, I was just immediately thinking of, all of the different systems that you can use now, and with some really good prompts, because with so much of that, especially when it comes to creating something creative like that, it's all about the prompt as well as the actual background software that you're running. Like that can just be done in seconds now.
Oh, brilliant.
Think about how much time that would have saved, right? A whole Sunday afternoon that you sat there with your colored pencils.
Yeah, it was endless.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah. And to think really that was just a decade ago, that's
I know.
small blip in time, really.
Yeah.
It all moves. It's all moving incredibly fast, which is exciting, but it can be really intimidating. And oftentimes people just throw their hands up because it feels like they don't even know where to start sometimes. And
Yes.
if they get started, that could be obsolete in a
Yes.
month or something. So if there was another, you alluded to some things that you're working on and that you want to be able to hand off, and that's going to make your life easier and so much more efficient in your business. But if there was one specific task that right now you could say, AI, take it away, this is off of my plate, here you go, what would it be?
Lead follow-up, closing the deal. Without a doubt, I think every company's greatest failure is the lack of the ability, no matter what the size, because the greater the size company, even if you've got a lot of reps, that's more responsibility on them. The ability to stay focused on key potential customers. And actually, I'm really going to put a close second there, because small businesses, we're always looking to grow. What new customer. And we forget about our existing customers. We're already doing work with them. They say it's 8 to 10 times more expensive to find a new customer than to take care of the one you've got. So even as a small company, I recognize how we are failing. Again, very excited about AI, because I know the next step I'm going to do is how do we manage, communicate consistently and market to our existing customers, because we forget all about them.
And as you're continuing to evolve and create new products.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, from an incredible golf insole that literally we will change golf. We are going to change golf. That insole is available on our website, but many exciting things. For example, having conversations with the biggest e-com platform in Japan right now. We are growing. One of our biggest clients is the Army and Air Force. We support our military with one of our products, and it will be one of these particular products here. We have the ability to brand and logo on our products at no cost. Companies use our product for marketing, for their internal employees, for safety. So those areas are unbelievably exciting to us. We feel like we're so close. We're like the guy trying to push that big rock over the edge of the cliff. It takes a lot of work, but it's right on the edge. It's so exciting. So yeah, new products are very important to us. Now, just getting the message out.
And if someone's listening today and they're dealing with foot pain or movement issues, what's one thing that they should start paying attention to immediately?
Which product?
Yeah.
Probably if they were to go onto our website, our number one seller, actually, I've got it right here. Our number one seller is our Relief 2. Don't know if that's backwards or not, but it looks just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic product. It's so easy to use. There's no training. Either our Relief 2 or our Classico are greater sellers, very easy to use, and they have some pretty life-changing results for a lot of people.
Yeah, the Classic, that's the one that I got. And I was also able to switch it out between, I have a couple of different pairs of shoes depending on what my activity is. And I've been switching it in and out. So easy, fits into both of them.
Yeah.
Just great. So it's nice what's the general lifespan on one of your products?
So typically we see over a year. We literally have individuals, we've met them from past events, we run into them again, who have had pairs of our product 6 years old. Now, I say that's wonderful. I don't want anything to last 6 years. I'll never go ahead and sell any more. So the listeners out there, that's fantastic credibility. But they come with a 6-month warranty. So I don't care, run them over to the lawnmower, they get chewed up by a dog, that's actually real case scenarios. We take care of you.
Wow.
Even if it's something happens outside of that, we look after everyone. Located out of Indianapolis, we're central to the US, so it makes it very simple to give great customer support.
That's a very generous warranty.
Mm.
And I'm sure part of it, the longevity of it, depends on how much someone uses it. If they're wearing it every day, all day, it's their main pair of shoes and they're standing on their feet for 12 hours a day, it might not last long. Yes.
And that certainly can be the case. But we find that most of the time, of course, we'll have manufacturing defect here and there. Buy a Mercedes, something breaks on it. But most of the time, a little bit of debris gets between the shoe and product, and then it just wears a little hole. So small you really can't see it. But that's most of the problem. But yeah, I mean, if you wear them all day, a little bit of time, yeah, you should still get pretty good life. But you're right, depending on, and we find mostly it's based on the activity the person's doing. Someone who's working in a metal machine shop or foundry, a little bit of debris gets in. But again, we take care of anyone if there's an issue.
Well, and speaking of taking care of everyone, you have a special offer for all of our listeners. So I want to say, first of all, that all of your links will be in the show notes and people will just be able to find you easily. But tell everyone how they can find you and then also the offer that you have for them.
Yeah, so our website is myairfeet.com. Very easy way to find us. We are available on Amazon as well. We have 2 licensed groups who offer our product, but the discount that you're going to be given here will only work on our website. So it's, if you're listening to this show, hope you are, from Beth, then this particular code will get you 25% off plus free shipping. So a great way to try the product. If you don't like it, return it. We look after you as well that way, but it's literally fantastic. It's going to be a great deal.
I always had this question. I haven't asked anyone yet, but when you have your own website and then you also sell from Amazon, truly, is it better for you as a business if people order directly through the website?
Yeah, great question. So our website is a little piece of information for it, is actually the worst place to buy our product.
Interesting.
I am higher than Amazon. Now, Amazon is kept to exactly the same price that you would find our product at a retailer. So it's MAP pricing. They're not allowed to sell it any lower. But the reason why is because, again, as a business strategy, we need to protect our resellers. They need to know, as the company, we're not undercutting them. Eventually, fingers crossed, as we grow, we may not carry the product on our website for sale. We may tell people where they can go get it. But at the time we do, but we protect our resellers. The reason why we give such a great discount is because when we're doing this type of thing, and it's a special discount, it's going to be better than if you go to Amazon. And the free shipping takes care of that sort of scenario as well.
Right.
Yeah. So and our retailers absolutely are ecstatic that we protect them, that we are a little bit more than what they are.
Can people find your product in stores and a brick and mortar stores as well?
Yeah, we're not in big box stores. It hasn't been our focus. As a small company, you've got to really be careful about how much you bite off in that area. As quickly as they can make you wealthy, they can send you broke. So be careful about that. Because we're based out of Indianapolis, we are located in a number of stores, locally, shoe stores. We are growing within the chiropractic community nationally. We have a big chiropractic distributor. So that's an area we're growing, as well as in, of all things, uniform stores. So police, fire, nursing. We're in a number of those stores nationally also. We have some bigger distributors like Fastenal, those types that take us into industry, but the regular consumer is not going to go ahead and work with them. So a number of locations, but big box is a goal. We'll see how we go.
Well, Wayne, thank you so much for this conversation today. You really are providing a product that can be really transformative, because we spend a lot of time on our feet and we expect a lot of our feet, and you don't really think about it until they're not working the way you want them to. And that can really put a damper on your day.
Yes, it
For
can.
sure. So I'm loving my AIRfeet, and I'm excited that we're able to get the word out and for more people to such a small little fix that can make such a huge impact.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Huge impact. So I appreciate all your words of wisdom today, and excited for our viewers to also, and listeners to also get a chance to utilize that code and to connect with you and try your product.
Oh, did we? I didn't actually mention the code, did I? What had we said that I was going to do that?
I believe soaring.
That's right. Soaring.
Yeah,
That's correct.
soaring.
Yeah. Which you said you would have in your notes.
Yep. And I'll put that in the notes along with the link. So it'll be so easy for people just to click on the link, enter the code, and get their product in your hands. Shipping was quite quick. I had it within a couple of days. So all good. All great.
Good.
Well, thanks again, Wayne. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely fantastic. Love the chat.
Thanks,
great.
Wayne.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.